Hello and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. Of course, I'm your host Clay, and with me, like always, in a tonight.
Cheers! I got bored with my layout, y'all. So we changed it up. You might see this happen a couple more times, but I think I like this one. I think it really works. The only thing is you can see my to-do list over here. So
I don't think that's a problem because I have a to-do list with me at all times every single day. So, it's only human. But Katie, we have a lot to talk about, but not a whole lot to talk about. And you just reminded me, we got an awesome shout out last night slash early this morning from
what
Star
intimidator
Wars.
listener.
Yeah, Star Wars Skinny gave us the star of the day on our interview and review of course, Shadow of the Sith. So, Star Wars Skinny, if you were listening, thank you so much for listening to that. It was a fun ride, and I am currently listening to that again on my car rides via Audible. So, looking forward to go through that again. But
Hashtag Audible, please sponsor us.
yes, 100%. I would absolutely love to give out some free codes to Audible. Um, but Katie, what is on the docket for today?
Um, so we have some Emmy news because the Emmy nominations came out. So we have Boba Fett and Star Wars Visions received four each, I think. Um, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi viewing time, as well as talking about a Princess in the Scoundrel excerpt, which is in fact roughly in the first couple of chapters, so it's not huge into the spoiler because I'm still at chapter 18 because I read into it a little bit last weekend. Um, but also embargo for that book, y'all. If you're listening, embargo is July 26th. So make sure if you're concerned about spoilers, you mute on your Twitter feeds because that is coming up. So we will have an early kind of like spoiler free review, and then we'll do like a spoiler filled episode like we did for Shadow of the Sith. That will be a separate episode because we're about to get very busy, y'all. we are going to get very busy.
Yes, yes, indeed. But before we get into all of that, of course, we have to jump into our GUA plugs. Of course, Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. What that means is we are just a part of a giant podcast family. So, starting us off every single week is, of course, Katie and me on separate shows, of course. Slice of Film and Ranger Alliance. This week was Ranger Alliance with me and Jake. Next week, it looks like our episode of Split is finally debuting on the network. So that will come out. And then, of course, throughout the week, we have me and Travis Hines with DC Alliance, Hines again with superhero discussions, then us here on Star Wars Alliance, Marvel Alliance with Chris and Brent, then Joe on A Walk Through the Multiverse, and then Chris again with, of course, World's Finest True Believers. That is a monthly show. It looks like he is planning to be recording that pretty soon. Just saw the title, not going to ruin it for anybody. I'm really excited because I know he is a big fan of the book that he is going to be talking about. So I'm really curious on who he is talking about it with. But yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to listen to. But of course, through all of these shows, Star Wars, DC, and Marvel all have their own separate feeds. So if you would like to listen to those on their own, you can definitely do that or stay right here with the GUA. Now, those three shows also go live on YouTube, just like we are currently right now. DC is on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Star Wars is on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, Marvel Alliance is Thursday night at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we all have ads on each and every one of these shows because we are an ad supported network and a listener supported network. Now, if you don't want to listen to these ads, you can join us here on YouTube every single time we go live, or you can join the Patreon. Patreon is $1 just to say thank you, but $5 gives you the exclusive content that we do every single month on top of the early access to ad free shows. So, this month, I started a show called For the First Time, and I am starting my journey 73 weeks of Game of Thrones. Holy crap. I'm on episode 2. There are certain characters that I absolutely despise. It's episode 2, and I already am calling for the murder of like 3 different characters. I absolutely hate them. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to be late to the bandwagon, but that is all it is. It's just me being late, having a weird conversation with myself. And they're very short episodes. They're anywhere from 15 to 18 minutes long. Nothing big because everybody else has already seen these shows. So I have some other shows that I have lined up after Game of Thrones, but that'll be really really fun to get through. Of course, Heinz has his top fives. Me and Snell have Batman 89 that we need to record. That's going to be our final Batman 89 review. Then we have Chris and Brent over with We Can Watch This All Day. They just released Thor, very timely considering Thor Love and Thunder. And then Joe has Multiverse Minutes that has made a return since The Boys has finished with their season 3 finale. And then Katie has, of course, her Star Wars conversations, legendary conversations, and her comic talk with her husband, Matt, of course. Now, I don't remember checking that folder because I know you had planned for some stuff in the future. Are y'all finished recording? Are y'all getting that up soon? When can we expect the next comic conversation?
He hasn't read Eye of the Storm yet. So I've been bugging him for like a week and a half. Hey, are you gonna read? Hey, are you gonna read? Um, so I don't know. But the good news is that a legendary comic conversations by myself will be coming soon. Um,
Yes,
I
yes.
have started collecting the Legends epic collections that are the republications and kind of being they like they take an era. So like I'm getting the New Republic right now, and they take an era and they go chronologically. So I have the first 3 volumes, and I'm going to try and find the rest so that I can like get those out consistently. But I also have legendary conversations. I've been struggling to find time to read physical copies lately. So I'm very lucky that the 4 that I'm trying to read right now, they're unabridged on Audible. So they're the 4 Clone Wars books. So I'll be talking about those next. And I should have that the Legends one. I'm thinking Sunday, probably. Um, is when I'll have that one too. So that will be there, and then probably the following week will be the legendary comic conversations because I'm so clever with my titles. Um,
But also, just like
but
we
y'all,
announced last week, we do want to go ahead and let our listeners as well as our patrons know very soon. Me and Katie will have a conversation about some selected dates that you guys, our patrons, will get to vote on for our watch along that we're going to be doing of the 2003, right? 2003 Clone Wars series that debuted on Cartoon Network. It's one of uh, my favorite pieces of 2D animation cartoons. And the seasons were jumbled up into a giant movie or 2 separate movies, one 60 minutes, the other 72 minutes or something. So we are planning a whole watch along with that. So that way we can just have a little bit of community with our patrons, of course, and it's going to be all fun. So if you would like to join that, of course, that will be a part of our um, $5 tier content. So go join our Patreon.
Yes.
I can never
But
I never know when to use the two different types of wording of patron and Patreon. I always mix it up.
Patreon. Also, I just have to like celebrate for a second. If you're not an Amazon Prime person, then I apologize, but I am. Um, and so I have been trying to find the hardcovers for all of the Star Wars books because I'm anal about my bookshelf, y'all. I can't help it. Um, and Dark Disciple has been consistently $150 to $300, and Tarkin has been anywhere from $150 to $600. And so I've basically like given up, but I decided to check today and I found Dark Disciple for $26 and Tarkin for $30. So
Wow.
together, that brings them to the total cost of a new hardcover, which was the price I was looking for, of $28 or less. So I pulled the
That's
trigger.
awesome.
Yes. So my collection will be complete. And I also found a Kanan omnibus for the comic, which has
Oh yeah.
consistently been like $200 to $300. I found one for $80. So I have that when he's sitting on the shelf. But I have been like thrifting consistently and trying to find used copies because these aren't in publication anymore. And I'm ecstatic, y'all, because again, anal about bookshelf. Really anal. Can't help it. So had to celebrate.
Well, that is it for the plugs. We are greatly appreciated for all those who have joined our Patreon as well. So, Katie, where do you want us to start off?
Let's just hit the Emmys. Um, so uh first off, we have Book of Boba Fett because Book of Boba Fett is the simplest article on Star Wars News, that where we typically get all of our news. Book of Boba Fett scored 5 nominations, including between Visions and Book of Boba Fett. And Book of Boba Fett earned one for outstanding fantasy slash sci-fi costumes for chapter one, outstanding sound editing for a comedy or drama series, which how does that fly between fantasy and sci-fi? I don't understand award nominations, y'all. I don't get it. I don't get how you can qualify in a fantasy slash sci-fi category and then a comedy or drama for
Well,
another.
no, see, I've never trusted categories ever since people called The Martian with Matt Damon a comedy. Like ever since that was nominated as a comedy, I was like, yeah, no, I don't trust any of the way people categorize these movies or TV shows. Yeah, no, never.
Wow. So, outstanding sound editing for a comedy or drama series, 1 hour in parentheses for chapter 6 From the Desert Comes a Stranger. The series as a whole was nominated for outstanding special visual effects in a season or a movie. And in the category for outstanding stunt coordination for a drama series, limited or anthology series, or movie, stunt coordinator JJ Dashnell was nominated as well. Um, Compared to The Mandalorian, which had 2 nominations for season one and 24 for season two, it may feel like a letdown, but it just goes to show that Star Wars is still cranking out incredible work, and that these artists really deserve to be recognized for the incredible work, because you can critique the storyline all you want, but the sound editing was phenomenal. Costumes are always great in Star Wars. Um, and yeah, visual effects was pretty good. So very excited for that. Um, and Star Wars Visions, the only Emmy it was nominated for. Sorry, I thought it said for. I lied. Um, it was nominated for Outstanding Short Form Animation Program. So
I would like to know who else is in that category because it does seem very specific for just that show, you know?
Well, let's look. So for the 74th Emmy Awards, they have Love, Death, and Robots, Robot Chicken, Star Wars Visions, The Boys Diabolical, and When Billy Met Lisa.
Okay, okay. So I can believe those. Okay. You know, I will say I have only seen the first season, but I do know what is that the first one, Love, Death and Robots. That show
Yeah,
ha- it has a huge fan base. Um I could see that being a very neck and neck contender with Star Wars, but man, if Star Wars doesn't win this, it is phenomenal. I think it deserves an award for sure.
I think so as well. As Bob's popping in, he said comedy and dramas are like the most broad categories. There can be sci-fi comedies or there could be fantasy dramas. That's fair.
Yeah.
And then he also said, I think the boys got nominated as well, which we talked about. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
super excited. It's really good to just see we're consistently getting um award nominations. And I'm excited, like one of the shorts, The Village Bride, was nominated for Oscar consideration. Um, but it didn't earn a spot there. I think they might have been too late in submitting it, is what I think happened. And then The Duel did get a nomination at the Annie Awards, but lost to an episode of Arcane. Um, so the series as a whole is getting recognized here. You, you could say based on like some of the reception to some of the shorts, I know a lot of them were really well received, but I think the last two in particular, the um the one where the dude turns to the dark side to
Yes.
get his girlfriend raised back to life, and then the creepy one with the Sith master and the master and the apprentice.
Yes.
I think those two got a lot of people like a "Ugh" kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see the Emmy ceremony for 2022 will take place on Monday, September 12th. So
Oh, that's actually not very far away. I thought for some reason it would be later in
I
the year.
know, right? Like I took a look the other day and was like, "Oh my gosh, it's July. 7 months have passed in 2022. Oh my gosh."
It's terrifying because I know in like what is it, July, August, September, in a little under 3 months, I'm gonna have a screaming child in my house. That like that's what terrifies me more than anything else. It's just like, oh yeah, time is irrelevant right now until that baby comes along, and that's gonna be just ugh. Anyway,
You're gonna be so sad.
with
You're gonna be really sad.
with all of this Emmy stuff, what is next on the docket?
All right. So Obi-Wan Kenobi Nielsen tracking indicates that the Star Wars spin-off series place spot in its third week of release, with nearly 700 million minutes of the show being streamed at that frame of time. Um, so apparently, what went from because we had covered this, but we kind of scraped the barrel, the bottom of the news today, y'all. So apparently, first week it was second place, just behind Stranger Things, to being fourth place, with behind Stranger Things, All American in the Lincoln Order, which I had never heard of. Um, and then it was fifth place behind Stranger Things, The Boys, Keep Sweet, Reno Bay, and The Lincoln Lawyer. So, and
So
The Lincoln Lawyer outstreamed Obi-Wan Kenobi by a mere 1 million minutes.
so it was fifth. So I know that like I I can't remember if it was S-Bubs last time that basically shut us down, or if it was Snell himself talking crap after I was telling him about all of his snide comments. Yes, Snell, I will continue to say that you made snide comments towards our conversations. Um, but we know that Obi-Wan Kenobi, although the combined numbers for the first two episodes were very large, it had yet to really beat, quote unquote, the Disney King that is, of course, Loki. This doesn't necessarily top that conversation at all, but you need to understand that I feel like it is still good when you are contending between, and people may see it as bad or whatnot because it's like, oh, it's Star Wars, it shouldn't be, it should be number one compared to these other guys. But these, like, I feel like Stranger Things is a monster within itself within the last few years with when it comes to fandom, and for it to compete with that, I feel like that's still good. I think that is a very good thing. These numbers are great for Lucasfilm overall. Um, I will be interested to see how Andor is going to hold to all of this. You know, there's a lot of people that when Rogue One came out, they're like, this is the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen, you know? And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people said that because of the last scene with Darth Vader in there, but there was still a lot of good stuff in that movie. I do want to know if those same people and or more are going to come and watch Andor, or if they even know about Andor, you know? So it's going to be very interesting to see how these numbers hold up when some of the more obscure live action shows for Star Wars start to really come up in the conversation.
Yeah, I think so as well. Um, it because Andor is a little more on like as a little more on the obscure side despite being connected to Rogue One. But it'll be really interesting to kind of see how that plays out. Just want to shout out Charlie. He said, "Hey guys, just want to let you guys know that I started the High Republic comics this week, and your guys' review of the first volume is awesome. Also, I loved the discussion with Katie and Matt. Charlie, I have sent you a screenshot of the message to Matt. He has not said anything yet. If he discords me back, then I will kind of share what he says. But I'm trying to get him to read Eye of the Storm so that we can get you guys another episode. So like give him some prodding.
I do want to go ahead and shout out Charlie as well. He is going strong on his comics reading challenge of 2022. That is still a thing, guys. Remember, there
Very
is
nice.
a uh, gift card to Organic Price Books. Um, Two, because Joe has agreed to meet my demand of, for me, I was gonna donate $100 gift card, and he's like, okay, I'll match you. So there are going to be two separate $100 gift cards for the comics reading challenge, and I think Charlie a long time ago uh like zoomed past me. He's already nearing 800 um on his reading list for this year. The goal for me was 865, but I did say that the requirements, because there's 365 days of the year, anywhere between 365 and 500 is the threshold, but you can definitely push past that on your
Wow, I
reading
think I
goal.
could have entered if I'd been keeping track on Twitter, but I haven't been. I just reading what's on my shelf. So
Well, you just grabbed all of those books, and I will go ahead and give a shameless plug to Heroes and Fantasies over here in San Antonio, Texas. Katie has gotten a large chunk of her trades from Heroes and Fantasies, thankfully to a good friend of mine that still works there, Erica. But yeah,
thank you for
uh,
taking all of my calls, Erica.
Charlie, thank you so much for the shout out. Uh, but let's go ahead and move on. I believe that is really it for the news. right?
Yes. So there is a Princess and the Scoundrel excerpt, which is available on StarWars.com. Remember, y'all, that book is out August 13th. Out is August 13th. No, that is the day I'm going to a wedding in Montana. The book is out August 16th. Excuse me, y'all. And our spoiler review will go live that week. You can go check out that excerpt now. I do still believe if you order the Barnes and Noble copy of, then you can be entered into a giveaway with like some like inso rings that are like the Han and Leia version, as well as a couple bookends. But then StarWars.com is actually having a live your honeymoon retreat where they will give you they basically win your honeymoon, and you can get uh free passes in December onto the Halcyon park, specifically, not the actual ship, the park hotel thing that Star Wars is running, all expenses paid. I believe they'll fly you down as well, because I double checked that because Matt and I have not had a honeymoon, and yes, I entered and he entered. So they'll give you the passes for the Halcyon, but then they will also put you up for 4 days into one of the Disney park resorts and get you tickets to go to all of the Disney parks. So it's about a week. Um, and so those are two giveaways that Star Wars I know is hosting. You do just have to purchase a copy of the book and submit your receipt to either one of those. So good things are happening. Clay and I do have copies of this, like we said. So we will make sure to give you guys a first glance. But also remember, this is The Princess and the Scoundrel, a more romance focused Star Wars book. You do not have to read this book if you do not like romance books, because it is very romance. So,
I, with my big schedule, have not had the chance to peek inside. I'm sure Katie has already finished the book.
I have not. Chapter 18.
It was so funny. She she texted me about how she was like, "Oh, I might start it, I might not, but maybe I have a lot to do today and whatnot." And then via I think our Star Wars Alliance chat, um,
Yep.
she had Snell had shared a post that Katie had made, and he's like, "You son of a gun, you already have this book." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm only like almost halfway through. It's nothing too serious."
It's 61 chapters, and I'm on chapter 18, so shut your mouth. Um, no, y'all, I got a temporary crown, and the reason I'm this happy probably is due to this wine right now. Um, so I gave up and was like, you know what? I deserve this. And I read and I enjoyed it.
I am going to be, and you're gonna be so upset. I'm starting Padawan today. So
Y'all, he said he was gonna have it done by Friday.
I will have this done by, well, no. You said Sunday. You said Sunday.
I said Sunday for the review, and you said that would give you time to go back through
Yeah.
and pick out things to mention in the review.
So I will say Monday was not the greatest for me, but starting it today, I will have it done by Saturday evening. That will
It is
give
a very
me,
easy read.
yes, I have already like skimmed through it to look at some stuff and see how like long the chapters are, see what my pacing will be like. And so I do think that Saturday is an easy go for me. So I'm starting it tonight. It's not going to be a problem at all. But because of that, I have not even looked at Princess and the Scoundrel
You will
because
have to knock out The Princess and the Scoundrel in a week
yeah,
because the embargo is up and we have to publish. So I lied to y'all. I said we were going to publish our spoiler review the week of the 16th. No, we're going to publish it with when the embargo releases, and then we'll re-promote as time goes on. Um,
exactly.
so that's the goal, at least.
We
But
have
yes, I know you're a very busy
but
man. I'm sorry, I'm just
But like Katie
picking on
said,
you.
as hosts of a Star Wars podcast, are being like we're putting put to the test. We are very busy throughout the next 6 months, basically, and it'll be very very
We are
interesting how
blessed,
all of
y'all.
it. Yes, yes, we are. But let's go ahead and finally move on to the Edge of Balance Volume 2. Now, Katie, as I remember our first review of Volume 1, we enjoyed the story, but we weren't necessarily super impressed with, the style of the manga and really the pacing of the story and whatnot. It was just an addition to a much greater story, as all of these are. I will have to admit, I really got into this one.
I I enjoyed this one a lot more, and I'm gonna have to go back and reread Edge of Balance at some point. Because I think my main qualm with Edge Balance, looking back at it, was I was expecting color, and then you broke my heart and told me, well, manga doesn't have color typically. You read a special manga book that gave you color once upon a time. Um, so I walked into this one with a lot less expectations, going, oh, okay, yes, color, please give me color. No, I didn't do that. um I really enjoyed this one. I have come to think that Jedi Knight Lily Tora Asi is her name. She's the main character of these mangas, and she's impressive. I really enjoy her, but I also think she is the biggest embodiment of me as a person. Because oh gosh, what is the Jedi Master's name?
Um,
It's the
Sav,
one with like the big sombrero.
her, their name, because I do not know the gender of this master. It is Master Sav. Oh crap,
Sav.
Sav something. Maybe it's in the back of the book.
Okay, here it is. Sav Malagan. And it Sav is a she, so we are good with she. She's the Jedi Master from Takodana, which is so her arc is pictured in the later part of the IDW comic.
Yes,
And the attack on Takodana is mentioned there. So y'all can check that out if you're interested more in Sav. Um, but Sav tells her like you need to flow with the water, and I'm like, I'm a very rigid person, so I'm like Lily. I think I've said that about a lot of Jedi Masters in this, but I really relate to Lily, like on a personal level. I think my overall biggest qualm, and this relates back to some of the biggest characteristics we've talked about that are misses for the High Republic, is the fact that it just goes too quick. You don't have enough time to bind to some of these characters, and that really kind of sucks. And I don't think that's the author's fault. I think that's the story group going, hey, you're going to publish in this amount of time.
for
You
sure.
have this many issues for a comic. I think that's more of a planning aspect versus a a story outline issue for the
Yeah,
author.
yeah. I so it's funny that you say that Lily basically is the embodiment of you, because no shade intended, but in some of these moments, guys, do not harp on Katie whatsoever after this, and you could be mad at me all you want. But there are moments in our GUA chat where we will say something, and Katie, it's like it somewhat goes over her head, and she's just like, I don't understand this whatsoever. And it's very, very sad in our aspect, because without Sarah, it's just all men. So we don't want to mansplain whatsoever. So we go about it very, very particularly. But in this book, particularly, Lily goes through some things and her face is very stonewalled and is just like, I don't get it. What are you even talking about? What is all of this? And the way that Lily for some reason just has to be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot what fun was about." I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Girl, come on. Come on." She like I don't remember, and again, it may be more into the IDW Star Wars Adventure books that I have not completely finished yet, to be completely honest. Um, they may tell a little bit more of Lily's story there because we also get a nice surprise when Lily goes to Starlight Beacon. We see both Zen and Lula, both
Mhm.
characters from Star Wars Adventures. Them, they're like, "Oh wait, you and Master Zav are like on this one planet together?" And they're like, "How's that going for you?" And she doesn't understand why everybody is picking on her in relation to why Zav and her, because again, just like Katie said, Zav and Lily are complete opposites when it comes to the way they go about just their everyday lives. One thing that I don't necessarily like about Master Zav is the way she is somewhat like the Yoda type character here, where she's speaking in riddles when I don't necessarily think she has to. She needed to be a little bit more
Mhm.
direct because I feel
Yeah.
like her instruction, spoilers, got somebody killed in this. And you can say, oh, it's not necessarily Master Zav's fault, but I feel like if she was a little bit more direct in this entire thing, it probably could have been avoided. But this was a very well paced book. I love that we got to see Master Arkov again, the Wookiee, uh, partnering up with RIP Master Stellan,
Spelling.
RIP. Yeah.
Mhm.
And uh, I love these younglings. They're probably the best part of this book in the sense of they're not necessarily comedic relief, but they are very much a big part of the heart in this book. Um, you know, Lily is training them on ban. How do you pronounce it? Is it Banshee or Banshee?
Does it say in the back of the book? Because in the back of this one there is an art of the manga. No, it doesn't say. I
It's
would say
B A
Bachians.
N. It's Banchii. Banshee, maybe. So on Banshee, Lily is training these younglings very strict, very to the point. And at one moment, they do go on to Starlight Beacon, and they're like, "Oh, well." Lily tells them, "Oh, you're coming with me because, for one, you need to do this as far as like your training, to like the next step of your training. But maybe it would be good just to see other Jedi because you're alone on this almost forgotten planet, basically." They go and they find out that there's a race. And they're like, "What kind of race?" "Oh, it's just a race around Starlight Beacon, and it's just for fun with all the other Jedi." And this is what kind
Yes,
of
which
opens.
that race, sorry, that race, by the way, is in volume 11 of High Republic Adventures. So
Okay,
this kind of takes place around that timeline. And Sav's storyline, I just pulled all of them out because I wanted to look. Sav's story is 8 through 10 of the High Republic
okay,
Adventures for people who are interested in following God.
okay. But I think that this race also opened Lily's eyes up to like, oh, well, maybe being a Jedi can be fun. And it's not all about the hard work, and I need to, probably step back on being so serious all the time. And I know we're jumping around, but I really wanted to focus on Lily because what I think that they didn't really do a good enough job last volume that they did with this volume is they spread the love around when it came to story.
Yeah.
And this is, like you said, Lily is kind of like the main protagonist of this book, but her Padawan Kareen, um,
Yeah.
Kareen Fione, um, he got some time to shine here as well. Uh, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. We can start kind of going beat by beat if you want to for this book, but I really did like the, and when I say the story of Master Zav kind of w- warped some things and probably caused the death that we have. Uh, I know it's for the sake of the book because these characters need to quote unquote learn their lesson for the sake of the
Mhm.
storytelling of the book. Uh, but that just means the volume could have been a lot shorter if they were more to the point.
Yeah, and I think Kieran's story is where the briefness of the storytelling kind of hits home because you want to relate to Kieran so much and you want to feel for that death, but then Sav makes Sav makes an instruction and he makes a brash decision that any Padawan could probably make going, no, I've got this. I know what I'm doing and gets himself killed. And you want to blame that on Sav, but you're also like, he was a little brash. But then you're like, but does it really matter? Because we didn't know him that much. Whereas like Bell and Buryaga, Buryaga, that's the one I wanted to think about. Buryaga has been in almost all of the storytellings besides the Edge of Balance. And you know that character and you're like, I need him to survive. Like I feel for him. And yes, there's those characters that you can latch onto as a person. We're not saying that's a bad thing. And you go, oh yes, this completely represents me. Or I really feel for this character. We're not saying that's a bad thing. But the storytelling is way too brief to really make you feel for Kieran and make you feel sad as an outside person looking in that doesn't immediately relate to him.
Yeah. But we got this idea of a what would you even call him? He of course he's a spy. He's a spy for the Nihil.
Yep.
And we got this tease at the very end of volume 1. And I was wondering how are they going to play him in this book? And I feel like he was probably the only character that I feel like they could have done more with because other than a few facial expressions and then his final scene with Kareem, we didn't get anything of him. We're
Yeah.
mainly supposed to like I don't usually do this, but if somebody were to grab volume 2 without a volume 1 and just be like, "Hey, I want to read this." You can kind of get your own story, but this whole idea about the spy from the Nihil, it's kind of lost on you. You have to rely on that first volume to understand who this character is at all. And that's good for, cells and everything else going to buy volume 1 and then volume 2, but I do feel like they probably needed a little bit more with him. What do you think?
Yeah. I think so as well, because originally before you said that, I was like, oh, okay, he's the doctor that's helping out Lily, but I just looked and the hair and this is the downside about not having color. Like you can like tell people apart more with like skin tone and everything. Um, but the hair is different. So that and I don't typically like because I read books more than I read comics or mangas, I don't typically like associate like a character. Like I associate like a voice. So the voice of this doctor that's helping Lily, but then also this Nihil spy, and it seems very similar, but then they're not the same. So
Yeah. But this I'm trying to think of some other, like, one of the big points of this book and the lesson of this story is that Banshee was clearly not prepared for the first attack with the Nihil and the Drengir and all of that. So the first part of this book, Lily is basically having everybody build bunkers and prepare for war
Mhm.
and all of these different things. And then Master Zav comes in and she's like, "Oh, well, you guys aren't prepared at all. You call this a bunker? Like if the Nihil were to get here, you would need an entire fortress and you're going to need soldiers and all of this." This again opens Lily's eyes. Kareen is very much not for this because he's just like, well, these are citizens of this planet. They're not soldiers. We would need to bring in an army. And
Mm,
Zav is like, okay, well, in the time of an emergency, you're not going to have that luxury. You can't just say, hey, we need backup, bring in the army, bring in, you know, uh, all the Jedi or whatever. So, they start to arm them with guns and all of this other stuff. And I do understand that we are starting to see more and more how this would mirror more planets throughout the years of the galaxies within Star Wars and how they prepare for the wars to come, like the Clone Wars and between uh the Separatists and the Republic. Like you uh or the Empire, or yeah, right? Did I say that right? Separatists and Republic? Yeah. Uh but you kind of see, oh, this is probably what these other planets that we didn't really get the origins of how they started preparing for war. This is probably how it went. And I do like that. I enjoy that kind of storytelling. But overall, I really enjoyed this. There's just small nitpicks, and I'm really confused how Lucasfilm, how whoever is, I guess this would be technically Viz Media publishes these, but we got volume one, and then we're like, oh, well, volume two is going to be the last one, but it's only going to be digital, but now it's going to be print. And then at the very end of this book, I turn the page and it says, we'll continue in volume three.
I think what that's going to end up being is because remember, Markion is looking for. Sorry, is it Marcion or is it Markion? I can't ever fucking remember. We had this conversation on Twitter. Fuck.
I think it's
The Eye of the
Markion.
Nihil.
Yes, it's Marky.
Markion.
Yeah.
It's whatever the opposite of whatever what's his name uses in the narrator. Um
That's what I mean. He says Martian. And so is the opposite would be Markion. Yeah, yeah. I saw this. I think I posted it in Star Wars Alliance. Um,
oh yeah,
uh,
because I said the wrong thing when I talked to Christina. Oh well, it is what it is. Um so Markion is looking for a specific piece of equipment in the Banshee temple. And so I wonder if because we're going back in time, Edge of Balance Volume 3 is going to be here's what Markion was looking for.
oh, I
Because
didn't
he
expect
never
that. I wouldn't
they
expect
they
that.
don't talk about what he's looking for, right?
Correct. Now,
Because Sav was like, you have to protect the temple, and um and then I'm sorry, Lily is like, we have to protect the temple, we have to protect like the grounds because they have to have a harvest. And Sav's like, that's not what matters. Protecting the people is what matters. And that's the last page is Lily, or that's like the last part is like the Jedi must protect the people
because
because
the
that's
big
her
the
convert.
the big aha moment is something that Master Zav had said in the middle of the book, saying, "Hey, you never know. There may be a time where you have to give up the temple to
Yeah.
protect your people." And at the end of the book, Lily's like, "Oh, I know how to, to protect everybody and get rid of the Nihil." And they get in their ship and they destroy the Jedi Temple. It is now in ruins.
Yeah.
and we
So then
see that
Nine-Hill
there's
can't recover anything from it.
yeah, we see a distress call because this actually lines up perfectly with, of course, the falling star, and Starlight Beacon is destroyed. It is gone. It
Mhm.
has been blown up or whatever. Uh, and we see a broadcast to all the Jedi to make their way
Which
to
lines
Coruscant.
that lines up with the end of Midnight Horizon because Yoda
Yes,
demands that the Jedi be recalled.
yes. And so we know that unfortunately, R.I.P. Kareen, he is dead. Master Zav is saying, "Hey, I'll make my way there eventually, but I'm actually going to fight off the Nihil in order for you guys to make your way to Coruscant." And then Lily tells the citizens of Banshee and the younglings, "You guys need to go to Coruscant. I will protect uh, the people of Banshee." And
Mhm.
you say, well, the citizens, like there is the humanoid citizens that are going to Coruscant, but the actual natives to Banshee are like these,
Banshians.
yeah, Banshians, and they're these little cute little. Uh, I would say they're really close to Porgs, but not really. Maybe, but they're
Yeah.
really tiny. I absolutely love when Lily was like, "I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna protect the people." And you see, if you look carefully behind them, they're holding like silverware and like forks and stuff because they're that little, and that's like those are their weapons. Absolutely
Mhm.
adorable. Uh, but I assumed that maybe it would be like a last stand type of thing for Lily for volume 3. But if
I
it
imagine
does make sense if they are gonna tie it into going into the past, that it keep the same name, but just, tie in a different way. I think that would be kind of cool.
I think so as well because going back and reading Eye of the Storm, especially after we did our review, and kind of going back with a different look is like okay, I've gotten over the fact that we're going to leave all these stories behind and go into the past. I approached that and was able to read it from a different point of view and get a better understanding of it. There's still some things where I'm like, how does Tentacle Master end up with Markion? That doesn't make any sense. Somebody please tell me how. Um, so I think going in that direction, you could like it would be interesting to see. Maybe it's like maybe they're only going to publish one volume of Edge of Balance, and it's instead of volume 3, it's going to be Edge of Balance 0 or whatever. No, but it specifically says Edge of Balance 3. So
Yeah.
yeah, and all it says is to be continued in the Edge of Balance 3. So
Now, other than the stuff that we really hit on, because I feel like we did hit on a lot, was there anything else that you really wanted to talk about in volume 2?
no, I think that's it. I really enjoyed this one. I'm starting to really enjoy some of the stuff that Jose Older is adding to the Star Wars universe. He's gotten some of the absolutely best storytelling that is available for us. Um it like the last shot, his Han and Lando story is very good. But Midnight Horizon is incredible. It's probably the best book to come out of the High Republic by a long shot. So I still go back and forth between Rising Storm and Midnight Horizon. I don't know. Midnight Horizon, best young adult. Rising Storm, best adult, I think.
I
So
I think so as well. I just feel like emotionally wise, I feel like Fallen Star has to be thrown in there. Um, but yeah, we I remember I remember our review for Rising Storm. Our minds were blown at what had happened in that book. It was so good. And I'm really glad that even the guys over at Geekverse are joining us on this journey to finish this High Republic. And
Yeah.
we have, I think it was today I saw that we are just 3 months away. My God, October is going to be insane for me, guys. I have Black Adam. I have my baby on the way. I have the return of High Republic. Oh my God.
Don't worry, Zach has agreed to step in for you for a couple pieces. But I do think that I told him August instead of October. So I'm gonna have to go back and tell him, hey, October. Um, so Zach will be returning for a couple episodes just to kind of alleviate some of the load from Clay, just to kind of help out. So
Yes, that would be amazing. But this is the technical conclusion of Wave 1 for High
yes,
Republic. I feel like it
except you
didn't
still have to read IDW.
yes, I still need to finish the IDW. I still technically need to finish the last 2 issues of the High Republic comic. But either way, I really feel that uh it did not, just because of how we felt with volume 1, this didn't end on a sour note. I think this does. Again, it's just a piece of the giant puzzle and story of High Republic, and I feel like it is not essential reading, but I feel like it could be very important in the future. As far as,
Yeah,
like you said, if the third volume plays with what Markion is looking for in current times, that we are currently in, I feel like that could be very, very important. So, with that, guys, of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. uh, Go into the bio there on Twitter. You can find the link tree to all the shows that I host, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course, right here on Star Wars Alliance.
and y'all, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Slays of Katie. This show is available on Twitter and Instagram as well. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A, and the war is very important. Don't forget it. Um, we do appreciate any and all support you guys can give us. And rating and reviewing on your favorite podcatcher is a huge, ginormous help. So if you could give us a hand with that, we'd really appreciate it because that helps put the show in the network into the feeds of other listeners who are not following us on social media. Our interview is hitting like a lot of people who aren't following us currently. And we hope that if you guys are listening to that interview, that you guys are sticking around, because that helps just grow us and that helps put us down as a stronghold in the Star Wars community. And we hope we are a positive impact in the Star Wars community.
Yes, and I just want to say, I want to go ahead and throw some shade towards all the rest of the GUA, because we were the most listened to show last month, in the month of June. Yes, it technically has to do
For
with
the
Kenobi,
first
but
time.
I don't care. We were on top, baby, and that's all that matters. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes. So y'all, next up, oh gosh, what is next week? I don't even know what next week is.
Next week is the 20th for us. And due to Katie's amazing skills in scheduling, it does look like
I'm an Excel queen, y'all.
that is not the right folder. Hold on one moment. I don't
I
know.
found it. Found it. Um, so next week is currently empty. So it'll probably be a movie review, guys.
Oh, we can finally do the Last
The
Jedi
Last
that you've
Jedi.
been wanting to talk about for so long.
Yes. So I'm gonna have to cancel the Hobbit viewing that we were supposed to do next Tuesday and watch The Last Jedi instead, which I would much rather do. um, So next week will probably be Last Jedi review, y'all. And then the following week, of course, currently unscheduled as of yet, will probably be The Rise of Skywalker, just to kind of like knock us out of the boat. And then we'll do a Rogue One review before Andor comes out, because that's just good policy. Like, you review the previous material that you have with this. Um, so, and then we've got a lot of good things coming up. We've got the Padawan review, which we talked about, the High Republic Phase 1 in review. Now that we are complete, we'll take a ride down memory lane. We'll go over kind of all the highlights, the lowlights, but then also some awards for Star Wars Alliance for some of the things, Princess and Scoundrel, and then Andor, whatever we come to first. I don't know. Y'all, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. We got an amazing number of people in the live chats. So I want to say thanks, y'all. And I want to say thanks whatever time of day you are listening or watching. And we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.
See ya.